Hi, I'm David Lee of the Midnight Charrette podcast, and you are listening to US Modernist Radio.
Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Oh, I don't care what Mama don't allow, gonna draw mine modern anyhow. Mama don't allow no architecture around here.
Welcome to US Modernist Radio, where we talk and laugh with people who enjoy, own, create, dream about, preserve, love, and hate modernist architecture, the most exciting and controversial buildings in the world. I'm George Smart. Nowhere in the world celebrates modernism better than Palm Springs, California. Every February, they have a huge architecture and design festival called Modernism Week, which actually lasts 11 days. Modernism Week is a dazzling spectacle of architecture, martinis, lecture, art, shopping, architecture movies, and wild men's blazers you just won't see anywhere else. How do I know? I bought one, and it is fabulous. If you're into mid-century modern, this is the Super Bowl, the Woodstock, the Olympics of all the architecture we love, an event not to be missed. US Modernist was at 2019's Modernism Week talking with nearly all the keynote speakers, authors, and special guests.
And I'm Tom Guile. This was my first time at Modernism Week, and it was just astounding to be in a place where the desert has the mountains right on top of it, with snow on them. Real mountains, not like the ones we have here in North Carolina.
Support for U.S. Modernist Radio comes from Realtor Angela Roll, your special real estate agent for bringing modernist design expertise to buyers and sellers. Reach Angela at angelaroll.com. That's ROEHL, or 919-995-0550.
You want to go with U.S. Modernist to Modernism Week in 2020? Send Mr. Modernism, George, an email at george@usmodernist.org to get more information. Today, we kick off Modernism Week coverage with internationally known architect Moshe Safdie. He's been famous for over 50 years, first as the architect for Habitat 67 in Montreal, then in the 2000s as the architect for the Marina Bay Sands, that crazy rich Singapore hotel from the movie Crazy Rich Asians we've talked about in past shows. And he's also known for a special small chapel you might not know about at, of all places unlikely to have a chapel, Harvard Business School. Safdie won the 2019 Wolf Prize in Architecture, and his other honors include the AIA Gold Medal, Canada's Royal Architectural Institute Gold Medal, and the Cooper Hewitt National Design Award for Lifetime Achievement. George spoke with Safdie in the lofty but somewhat noisy atrium lobby of the Hyatt Palm Springs.
Well, before we get started, I want to talk about one of your buildings that's really a personal favorite of mine, and it's one of your smallest buildings. And it was the 1959 chapel at Harvard Business School, which I stumbled across in the middle of a snowstorm. I've never been as cold. We're walking around campus, and there's this little jewel building in the midst of this sea of capitalism, and it was open, and it was just amazing. How did that building come about?
It's a building that got a lot of love and care from me, but as well from Dean MacArthur, who was Dean of the Business School. And it began with his observation that the McKim Mead and White Master Plan of 1928 had a chapel on that location, and it had never been realized. And so he wanted to realize it, and he realized a chapel is something new now. It would have to appeal to all the students from different persuasions. And he got his class of 59 to fund it, hence the class of 59 chapel. And I had this notion that there should be a garden, a glazed garden, which is a place of repose, which you can come and relax. And then through that, you lead to the sacred space. And the sacred space is designed so that you can sit any formation in the round, on an axis, facing Jerusalem, facing Mecca, facing Rome, whatever you wanted to do. And at the same time, I wanted to have something of nature come in without actually looking to the surrounding, so it's really kind of secluded. And I got the notion of using prisms It's an idea that I was playing with at that time, also in Jerusalem, but here I could realize it. Large prisms in cross-section 2 feet across, made of acrylic filled with mineral oil, and they're set in the skylights. And I don't know what the weather was like when you were there.
It was overcast and cloudy and snow on the ground.
So you didn't have the symphony of color.
No.
But on a sunny day, or even an intermittently sunny day, you sit there and all the walls are washed with the spectrum colors. And if you sit there even for half an hour, they shift and they move and they dance on the walls as the sun turns around or as we turn around the sun, whichever. But you have that kind of dynamicism, and if the cloud comes by, the colors go away and then they come back. The miracle about the place was that I designed it without an acoustician. There was not that much mention of music except like speeches and performances. And the day before it opened, I came there with the Oyoma, who's a close personal friend, and he had his cello with him. And he sat there at the corner and started playing the Bach suites. And his eyes opened and he said, "This is an acoustic miracle. It's like the cello is part of this building. Every sound is like all over the place." And MacArthur was so impressed that he endowed Friday concerts there, or weekend concerts, in perpetuity, which is now part of that place. So on another day when you get there, hope the music is going or the sun is shining.
Oh, yes. Well, I noticed that when you're going down the stairs of the building, it's just eerily quiet. Like I could almost feel my heart beating just going down the stairs. And I don't know if that was part of the pure acoustics.
Absolutely. Decompression, surrounded with plants, even the fish in the water.
Well, you have been noted for a number of other sacred spaces around the world, and your attention to detail and your study of these religions before taking on the design phase of a project. Can you tell me about some of those?
I would say one of the most sacred spaces, even though it's not a place of worship, that I've designed is Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum, which in Jewish tradition, it's almost like a place of burial, and therefore treated as a sacred space. And I had 2 phases there, the Children's Memorial, where I resisted designing a museum with objects and created a place of contemplation, where you enter an underground space and a single candle reflects into an infinity of candles through some optical setup that I created there. And after just being there and hearing the names of children read on and on, that names and ages and place of birth, you then emerge to the valley and the light and life.
Yeah.
And later on, when they rebuilt the entire historic museum, I created this space for the museum where again you enter under the mountain, and all the galleries are below the mountain, and you break out on the opposite side to the west, to the north, and there's the forestation and renewal, the forest of Jerusalem. And again, this was like, in spite of the horror of the story, life prevailed, here we are. So I think these were maybe emotionally the most challenging. But I did create a museum for the National Museum for the Sikhs.
Yes. That was one of the ones I read about, yes.
Which is not a sacred space. By definition, it's a museum. But they treat it sacredly. They take their shoes off. It doesn't matter that we tell them it's not a temple. They treat it like a temple. And
where is this?
It's in the Punjab, in a place called Anandpur Sahib, which is outside the capital of Chandigarh.
Ah, right.
And it's become a place of pilgrimage. I designed a mosque for Dubai. It didn't get built because of the financial crisis of
2008.
2008, exactly. But I studied the Islamic traditions, the rituals. I had Oleg Rebar, who's one of the great scholars on Islamic, on mosques, consult with me so that I really immersed myself. And they said it was the first contemporary reinterpretation of the ritual that they found extremely compelling. They were very excited about it. I'm now designing a church in Colombia, in Cartagena. I'm designing a little urban development, a hospital that's under construction, and the church, which has been presented to the Archbishop, who loves it, and we hope in the next few years I'll have my first church. As far as synagogues go, I have a less happy story. I've designed several, but not all were built as I had intended, or not built at all. So that's it's amusing that my record is less successful with Jewish, being of course an Israeli and a Jew myself.
What is that? You're never a prophet in your own land?
I guess so.
Well, I was talking with another architect yesterday, Anthony Poon from Los Angeles, and we were trying to figure out, we know that there are many, many Christian modernist churches and many modern synagogues and other religions, but we were trying to think about where are modern mosques around the world. Are there several of those?
Very, very few. There are some, because I researched them.
Yeah.
There are a few, and far in between. There's a few in Turkey.
Turkey? Really?
Turkey. There have been several published. I'm not sure built. It's hard to say these days from the internet what's built. But the far in between, I think Islam is extremely conservative. I have to confess, when I was approached to design the mosque in Dubai, I was shocked. I said, "Do you know what you're doing?" And they kind of looked at me, and I said, "Well, I'm a Jew, I'm an Israeli, I have an office in Jerusalem, I have 3 citizenship, Israel, Canada, US. Do you want me to design your mosque?" And they said, "We love your architecture and we think you understand our culture. Yes, we want you to design our mosque. We know all about you," the statement was. And I did my homework because I thought this was really a challenge in a conservative setting where there are many mosques and grand mosques, but they're all variations on the theme of the traditional mosque. And what came out looks nothing like the traditional mosque, and yet it evokes completely everything about the mosque, including the lunar calendar and the Arab and the minaret, which I integrated into the building. So it was not just a contemporary mosque, but it was an expression of the ritual.
I'm so sorry that didn't get built.
It will one day.
It will?
Yes, I'm certain of that.
I hope so.
Yes.
I'm going to be there in 2020. Will it be built by then, do you think?
I doubt, but it will be built.
Okay. One of your buildings, I understand you designed to look like it was 300 years old.
Which one?
I'm trying to remember. I thought it was one of the...
Knowingly wanting it to look?
Yeah.
I've designed buildings which I said I wanted them to look like they've always been there. But I'm not sure I ever wanted it to look old, so...
Okay.
When I was commissioned to do the Rabbinical College in Jerusalem, this was 1970, and a modern design, contemporary design, had been rejected by the rabbis before I was commissioned. They asked me, in a kind of a threatening tone, "Will you make a modern building for us, or more of a Jerusalem traditional building?" And I said, "If I succeed, you will not be able to answer the question."
Good answer.
It was defensive, but it worked because it gave me a motto.
Yeah.
The motto then became, I want to do an authentic, contemporary building, modern materials, lightness, but I want it to feel like it's always been there. And I think it does succeed in doing that. Unfortunately, I had a falling out with the rabbis, ended up in the Supreme Court of Israel, where I prevailed, but lo and behold, prevailing doesn't help because then they stopped the construction. So
wow.
You can't win against the rabbis.
So how far into construction were you at that point?
Oh, they inhabited the incomplete building.
Oh.
They just moved in and stopped construction.
Okay. That's a new one.
Yeah, that's a new one. I've never experienced that ever again and hope not to.
Well, more recently, you've been really well known for a building you designed 10 years ago, and this is because of the movie Crazy Rich Asians. The Marina Sands Hotel, yeah. That movie has been, I think, one of the biggest hits in the world this last year.
Starring my building.
You're starring your building.
I didn't get royalties either.
Did they invite you to the premiere?
No.
No?
No, I never heard of them.
Really?
From them, I mean.
Okay.
I know they got permission to shoot and all that, but I knew about the film when I started getting dozens of emails, a barrage of emails. Have you seen your building? And I have to say the footage of the building in the movie is spectacular.
It is.
It doesn't just show it, it shows its meaning and the life within it in a way that really communicates my intentions in the design. So it's as if they were reading my mind, like they have this shot of the party on the roof and the helicopter backs up and all of a sudden you see the swimming pool and the whole lights of the city under it, 50 floors below. It got me excited again about it.
So if you're listening to this and you don't know where the Marina Sands Hotel is, and you're thinking that Moshe designed this hotel with another rooftop bar and swimming pool and things like that, you really need to start Googling this, because this is an extraordinary building. I've had the good pleasure of staying there before and swimming in that, 900-foot pool on the roof?
It's 160 meters. It's 500.
500 feet. So this was part of the Sheldon Adelson Sands complex,
they were
right?
the client.
They were the client.
It was a competition. 4 of the leading casino developers and integrated resort developers in the world, each with their own architectural team. The Singaporeans did something very smart. They fixed the price of the land. And they said, we will pick a design based on its merit, its attraction, and what it offers to tourism and the citizens of Singapore. So everybody bent backwards to give all kinds of wonderful amenities. And during the competition, I came up with the idea of the Sky Park. I suppose in the normal process, which wasn't so competitive, developer might say, take this thing off the roof, this is crazy. It's going to cost a lot of money. Such a debate did take place, but in the eagerness to really win this, all these wonderful ideas that architects have and the developers have came in as part of the proposal. And once we were selected, this was it. We were going to build what was promised. And I have to say that this is one of the buildings that I did that is commercially the most successful project maybe ever built in real estate. It still has a revenue of $100 million a month.
Wow, a month?
A month. It paid for itself within 4 or 5 years. It is extraordinarily successful. So whatever it cost, it's justified itself over and over. And that comes not just out of the casino part, but the hotel and the convention center and the museums.
The shopping areas.
Which is extremely successful. So it's a synergy that makes this public realm place so appealing to Singaporeans as well as the visitors that makes it work.
Just imagine, because this is like no other hotel anywhere on the planet. This is 3 giant 50-story towers.
Yes.
50 stories?
59.
59-story towers. So imagine those next to each other, and there's a space in between about 2 or 3 times the size of one of the buildings.
Yeah, I call them urban windows, so we could see the sea from the downtown.
Okay, so we've got a gigantic urban window between each building. And then on the top, there's this sky park with this long pool that you can get in. And, of course, it's thrilling to be in the pool and, of course, looking over at the skyline, which is for 20 miles, 30 miles you can see on a clear day up there.
On one side, you see Malaysia. On the other side, you see Indonesia. And your phone starts jumping from the Indonesian to the Malaysian to the Singapore cell network.
Well, I know a lot of young people are now trying to figure out how to get to Singapore because of that movie and to stay in that hotel. It's just crazy popular.
Well, I hope they can afford it. That's the one thing.
It is a little bit pricey. So what's next for you, Moshe? What projects are you working on now?
There's one exciting project in Singapore which will open in October. It is called the Jewel. It is the center of the airport of Singapore, Changi Airport.
Changi.
And Changi has currently 4 terminals. In the center is the Jewel, which is a great glass, maybe one of the largest glass domes ever built, under which is airport facilities, shopping, lots of shopping, several levels. And then one of the greatest gardens under glass ever, maybe the greatest garden under glass ever built. And
greater than the garden in Singapore next to your hotel?
Greater than both the gardens by the bay combined. And this was, again, a Singapore-led competition to developers and their architects. And again, there were 4. And the program was given very explicitly, except for one thing, an attraction. There ought to be an attraction in this building that will draw the people of Singapore, so they will use the transportation network to come there, as well as passengers and the people working in the airport. So this is Singapore meets the world, because it serves both. And of course, the natural tendency of conventional thinking was kind of Disney, dinosaurs, other such things. And I just felt these time-limited ideas, you get tired of them, you've gone once, you've seen the dinosaurs, that's it. How can we do an attraction that's timeless, that will work in perpetuity? And how do we give meaning to a place that's for young people and older people, in daytime and nighttime? And then came the idea of a great paradise garden. We worked with the Exploratorium in San Francisco to have all kinds of scientific experiences within the garden for young people. And the building is a toroid shape. So it's like a donut or bagel, whichever you prefer. And the entire rainfall that falls on it drains towards the center vortex and comes through the building as a waterfall. And on a good Singapore rain, we get 12 gallons a minute coming down, dropping 10 stories. It's also the tallest waterfall. Artificial waterfall. And so it's pretty well finished now. We've just planted thousands of trees that came from several countries, all of which had to be picked from high altitude because they need to be in a constant temperature of about 24 degrees and air conditioning. So I think that'll be a kind of a discovery. First, it changes what airport can be like in terms of concept. And, Changi has always been number one, but they want to be even more than that. So
Changi is an incredible airport. I have never seen anything like it in the United States, even close.
Very few in the world. They always voted number one in the world. But it also kind of opens up a question about what a mall is all about, and the kind of big urban malls that go on and on. And it shows you actually could create a commercial place. We have almost 1 million square feet of retail in that building. And it's cohabiting the sort of intense marketplace side by side with the Paradise Garden. And you can create in the middle of the city extraordinary nature experiences where you connect with nature and yet have the intense marketplace. So it kind of, I think, will revolutionize how we think about commercial centers in the city.
Well, I hope so, because in the U.S., malls are closing because of Amazon and Walmart and other factors.
But as they're closing in the U.S., they're opening up like weeds all over Asia. And they are the new urban place because people need communal, social place to interact.
Yes.
And that's the only alternative at this point for them. So they might do a lot of the shopping internet, even in China. But I think that the need to be out there in a communal space, it doesn't go away.
Well, Moshe, thank you so much for coming and spending some time with me. It's been a real honor and pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Want to hang out with U.S. Modernist at Modernism Week in February next year? Send an email to george@usmodernist.org with your name and phone number. U.S. Modernist Radio is underwritten by Angela Roll, your special agent for Modernist houses. 919-995-0550. Okay, take us out, Tom.
Visit usmodernist.org's massive archives to listen to past shows, discover documentation of 7,000 significant modernist houses, and access 2.5 million pages of classic 20th century architecture magazines. U.S. Modernist Radio is produced by Soundtracks Recording Studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. Our theme song was performed by George Smart and Robinson Earl. Cindy Stratton, not her real name, researches guests from her secret underground lair. U.S. Modernist Radio is a production of Modernist Archive, a nonprofit educational archive for the documentation, preservation, and promotion of modernist residential design. I'm Tom Guild. George and I'll be back soon with another Modernism Week edition of U.S. Modernist Radio.